Hi everyone. In today's session, we are going to deep dive into User Detail Manager and JDBC User Detail Manager in Spring Security. We'll also learn how to create and manage user inside a database instead of using in-memory authentication that we previously did. Before we start coding, make sure you have installed a couple of tools that we will be needing in this session. Uh, let's get started, and I'll just go to my browser and search for Docker. So you need to search for the Docker and you need to click on download Docker desktop for appropriate operating system. I have already installed it. Another tool that we would be requiring is the DB Weaver. So you can click on this first link, free open source database management tool, and you can download the database community edition. And once you are downloaded with these tools, keep them running in the background so that you can use them during the session. So let me just open Docker desktop. Okay, so the Docker engine is starting. Make sure that this Docker engine is starting and all the relevant UI is open. So now my UI is basically open, my container images, and I'm able to click and everything is working. So I'll just minimize this and I'll just open the DB Weaver. So we will be also needing this DB Weaver. So next I'll just jump to the IntelliJ. And for this section, I have duplicated my section 2 code and rename all the packages to Spring Security section 3. If you can see here, com.springsec3. And also I have corrected all the package imports. You can see here com.spring spring section 3. And all the relevant code from section 2 is almost same. Now, before we create our own database connectivity and users, we need to install a Docker plugin inside the IntelliJ. So you can go to your setting option, click on plugins, and you need to go to the marketplace and search Docker. So this is the first plugin which comes into your plugin marketplace. So you need to install it and it will require restart of the IntelliJ. Once you restart it, we are good to go. And I have already restarted and done the installation of the Docker plugin inside my IntelliJ. So let me just close it. So next, we are going to connect to a database and we require a SQL database. So for our demo, I'll just creating a Docker compose file. I'll just create a new file, docker compose.yaml on my main directory. And to work over here, I'll just type the services and create a tab, and I'll just provide Spring Security app, and container name would be my Spring Security app. Image, I'm just using the MySQL image and the latest tag. And I'll just expose the default port of MySQL, which is 3306. Then I need to set some of the environment variables. So the first one is the root password, which is root. My database name, I'll just change it to bankdb. And I'll just create an additional user, which is Rishabh and okay. One indentation issue, I'll just space. Okay, now it is fine. So once you install your Docker plugin into your IntelliJ, you will get this particular icon. and you need to check whether the connectivity is happening or not. So if you click on this dock or double click and you see that all the functions are now coming, let's just run this and make our MySQL container up so that we can utilize it. All right, so our container is started. Okay, so now let's just connect to this particular container of your MySQL database and connect to your BankDB database. So let's just go to your DB viewer. You need to create a new connection and choose MySQL. Here, your database would be the same as your container database environment variable that you have set. The username would be root and password would be root for the admin. Now let's just test the connection. So hopefully you would also see this particular public key retrieval is not allowed. So what you need to do, you need to go to your driver properties and you will find this allow public key retrieval. And what you need to do, you need to set it as true and just go to again inside the main tab and just click on test connection. And yes, so test, we are now connected to the MySQL database. Let's just click on finish. Okay, now we are inside this bank database, and inside this we don't have any table. So this is the default database that we have created. So far we set up the MySQL database inside our local system. As a next step, we should try to understand what is the structure of tables that I need to create inside this database. So as of now, our database is empty and we can't use it until we create tables and columns inside this database. But we don't have any clue what is the structure of the tables and what are the columns that we need to create inside this database. To get some clue around this, let's try to explore the JDBC User Detail Manager. We know whenever we want to use the database as a storage system for such scenarios, Spring Security team, they have provided an inbuilt user detail manager, which is JDBC User Detail Manager. So let me open the same inside my workspace. I'm trying to look for JdbcUserDetailsManager. User Details Manager. So when you open this, you will find a lot of compilation error because we are yet to add JDBC related dependencies inside our build.gradle. So we are going to resolve all this error in a few minutes. For now, let's try to understand what is there inside this user detail manager. So let me jump to the user detail manager. So inside this user detail manager, you have create user, update user, delete user, change password, user exists. So its implementation class is the JDBC user detail manager. Inside this user detail manager, if you simply find load user by username method. So this method, which is coming from user details service, and that is basically overridden here. So if I quickly go to get user by user name query, and here I'll just go to here. If you can see this dot user by username, which is set a default constant def user by username. So if you see here, there is a database query, select username, password, enable from users, where username is your input. So now this database query is basically responsible for your getting the required user from the database, and the table is users. So this is the location where the DDL scripts are present. If you can see, default user schema DDL location is this. And how we can see this? Let's just search for users dot DDL. just click on all and you will find this all database queries. And if you can see here, there is a table known as users, authorities, and a index that is getting created on the authorities. So these are the actual database table implementation of your JDBC User Detail Manager class. So what we are going to do, we are just copying this tables and get inside our database. And next, let's just close this particular tab. So we need to write the SQL. So you need to go to this SQL tab, paste all your queries. Let's just select one and execute SQL query. So, okay, we got an error. So varchar ignore case 500 is basically not supported by the MySQL, because these are all queries are supported by the SQL H2 database, which is an in-memory database. But right now we are using the MySQL. So to fix this, we are just removing the ignore case. The varchar is only needed here. And I'll just quickly replace. Okay. Let's just execute it. Okay. Table is query is executed. Now let's run this second query. Yeah, there is still some varchar or something is present. So I think I accidentally deleted the data type. So varchar, and I'll just execute the second query. Execute. Successfully executed. Let's just execute this third query. And we didn't see the table, just we need to do a quickly refresh, and you will find authorities and user table. And if you click on this particular table, view data, and you will find 3 columns: username, password, enabled. And if I quickly open the authorities table, you will find username and authority. So authorities username is a foreign key of your users table username column. Now let's just insert some of the data into our tables. So just go to the scripts. I'll just quickly paste. So I'm just simply inserting my user, which we have created previously in our previous sessions. So insert ignore users Rishabh and with the password, and I'll also inserting the authorities. Another that I'm inserting is the Mohit, which is having a bcrypt password. Let's just execute this. I'll just select all, execute SQL queries. Okay, I need to execute this one by one. We just execute row inserted, 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 and inserted. Let's just see the data. So I'll just click on user, view data, and I'll just click on refresh, and you can find the data as a Mohit, and you will find the bcrypt password and the no password of the Rishabh user. Next is we can check the authorities, view data, Mohit, admin, Rishabh, read. So these are the authorities that I have given. We can start making code changes to use the JDBC User Detail Manager in the upcoming videos. But before we try to do that, let's try to quickly check what is the content that we have inside the JDBC User Detail Manager. So inside this User Detail Manager, we are going to have an implementation of method, something like create user. If someone wants to create a user with the help of the code, they can invoke this method by sending the user details. Here they are trying to execute the query with the help of JDBC template, and the query that they are going to execute is create user SQL. So let me just quickly check this query, what they are doing. So insert into users username password enable value, the same query that we are executing manually. We just again go to the code. So similarly, we have something called delete user. So inside this delete user, you have the delete from user, where username is this. Similarly, we have methods which is delete user authorities and update user. So let me go back to the create user. Okay, it is not super complex. It is just a plain JDBC logic where with the help of few SQL queries, they are trying to store and manage the user details inside the database. For the next upcoming lectures, we will be trying to make code changes to connect to the database and start using the database as an authentication storage system. So I hope you liked the video, and we will catch you in the next video or next lecture. And just do like, share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Bye bye.